Okay, let's just get started, and as we're bringing things around. My name is Cindy Hershey. I am the creative manager for Quilted Treasures and Ink and Arrow Fabrics. Sarah Malin presents Schoolhouse with me every time. I think you know Sarah, and she's a regional sales manager for us in the Midwest. And we have worked together for a number of years for Schoolhouse, presenting ideas that we hope are helpful to you as shop owners. I owned a shop for 13 years. I come at Schoolhouse from that perspective, just so you know that. Even though I'm on the fabric side and the vendor side of things now, I have shop owning in my blood. I think once it's in your blood, it never goes away. So what I like to do with Schoolhouse is to try and provide you with ideas and thoughts, some inspiration that will help you have a more successful business. That's really the main thing here. Certainly we can stand up here and talk about what lovely fabric we have, but that's really not what you need to hear from us, because you already know we have lovely fabric. So we're going to go into this new topic. And if you've joined us before, anybody joined us before for the business development classes? No? Okay, so for this one, our topic is I don't sew, I quilt. Let's be very clear about that. I do not sew, I quilt. And it's a tongue-in-cheek title because we're finding that this is some shops are drawn a line in the sand, and other shops are very open to sewing as well as quilting. And where is this all coming from? We're in challenging times, right? We all know that. This is one of the most challenging times that we've been in as an industry. It affects shops, it affects vendors, it affects everything. And so with challenges, there are also opportunities. And I think identifying the opportunities and addressing those in a way that can work for you is very, very important. So what are the opportunities, especially in times like this? The opportunities are there are lots of people who have not had exposure to sewing through family, mom, grandma, sewing through home ec, sewing through 4-H. There's a whole generation that have not had any kind of formal, even informal training, but they are very, very interested in being creative. We know that from the popularity of HGTV. We know that from the popularity of Pinterest and all the other things that are out there. As shops, there are lots of things that you can do to bring new people into your stores, and I might say to retain people who have been quilting and have been in your store, but are now interested in doing something more than or in addition to their quilting. We're in a very transitional time in this industry. So, it all sounds great, and where do we start? Let's talk about just sewing and how you can address sewing in your store. It does not mean investing in a whole new inventory. It does not mean that. I know a lot of stores feel like I don't have room for anything more, I don't want to bring in other fabrics, I don't know how to do zippers, I don't want to do all of that. You don't. Bottom line is you don't. You can work with what you have. There's certainly patterns and ideas available that you can work with what you have. If you, over time, notice that the interest from your students and your consumers is growing, you can certainly add things, but know up front, whatever you've got in your store now is completely all you need to start. So where do you start? Keep in mind there are lots of resources. You certainly have the National Sewing Circle, wonderful videos and class ideas. There is the American Sewing Guild. There are all kinds of online places that you can find for ideas and inspiration. One of the things that I think we need to address as shop owners in this industry is that we must address the younger sewer. We have to talk to kids. We have to sell to kids. We have to teach kids. If you don't teach kids, you're going to be missing out on the future. We must find a way to do this. And so with children comes some longevity. You're getting children in who this is their first exposure, but I'll bet you're going to get their parents who have also never been exposed to this kind of education. So finding a way to teach children is very, very important. I cannot hit all the points in the text. Certainly on your plane ride home or in the hotel, hopefully you'll have some time to review this. Within classes and addressing children, keep in mind that it's not just classes, it's events. And we just had this little conversation coming up in the elevator. You all are party planners. You are all event planners. And if you're not, you want to find out how to be an event planner. Because it's all about entertainment. It is all about giving people instant gratification with quick projects. It's all about giving them something to relate to and something that's fun. So event planning is what you need to be at some level at some time. Within that, we're talking about kids' birthday parties. If you're not doing that, that is a big one. It is getting kids into the store. It's getting their parents in there as helpers or when the parents come to pick them up. And this applies to sewing, quilting, anything. The birthday parties are huge. I have a whole list here for you. Sew-a-thons, Halloween parties. Are you doing a costume party in your store? If not, you want to make sure you're doing that. Even if it's the superhero capes that are so simple, kids can sew those seams. After school sewing parties, school break parties, runway shows. If you're doing little mini apparel classes, make sure you do a runway show. Are you doing sip and stitch in your store? Or a bubbles party, you know what that is. That's champagne, so you keep the projects here. Big thing is off-site classes. You must take the class out of your store and be willing to go into other locations. Go to the churches, go to the library, go to the community centers. Anywhere that there's an opportunity, you want to investigate it and take your show on the road, because don't expect them to come to you. You must get out there to the community. With that said, there is a wonderful opportunity for being a sewing studio of sorts. And I have somebody I would like to introduce you to, who is here with us, and I just met her recently, and the reason I met her, I want to show you how well this works, is our little Lily, who is 6 years old, went to a birthday party, actually, at Megan's store, made a little skirt along with all of her other little friends, had a ball, hasn't stopped talking about it. I have pictures. When I talked to Megan about this and got the information, I found out that not only does Megan have a sewing studio, she is starting and has a business to educate shops on how to become sewing stores. She can work with you on curriculum, she can work with you on ideas, and she's here at Market with some very specific ideas, and will be hosting a dinner and also a meet and greet. So this is Megan Avery, and her information is the last 4 pages of our handout. There is also a separate page in the sleeve in your information. In there you'll see the times and everything to meet with her. But I just want to say, Megan is one example of resources that are available to you who can help you navigate getting from point A to point B and hold your hand and ensure you that you can do this. You can do this. I've given you a whole, because I know we're running short on time, I've given you a list of really good books. These are great sources for classes. They're great sources for inspiration. So these are available direct or through your distributors. Wonderful classes here. Sewing School 1 and 2 are 2 great books. Sewing School Basics, The Sewing Machine Classroom. Also, as far as finding teachers for your store, if you yourself don't feel qualified or your staff is not feeling up to the task, make sure you're talking to your customers to see who's a sewer, as in addition to being a quilter. Please contact your schools to find out if there is a home ec teacher or any teacher who is also a sewer who would be interested in teaching in your store. Contact local colleges, especially if they have any fashion design classes. Wonderful source for teaching in your store. Another thing is older kids. So let's say you have a teenager who has learned along with you or who has learned at home. Teenagers teaching to younger children is brilliant. Younger kids relate to them. Older kids love to be involved in the process. So please access your teenagers and your young adults to try and help you in the store to teach. What can you do to promote your classes? We have a lot of ideas for you for this. Again, without going into every little sentence here. You can certainly put ads up, and we all know that. You can put posters up in your library, in your grocery store. Social media, we all know about. Working within your own shop, certainly I think sometimes people forget to promote enough of themselves in their own shop. Sound your horn. Tell people you're great. Tell people what you do. Tell people what you do well. Make sure they know who you are and that you're proud of it. Too many shops just kind of, I think, are just kind of reticent about that. Make sure people know who you are and why you're there and why you think you should be there. We have something else to present to you, and that is meetup.com. And Sarah's going to take this portion of it and explain how you can use meetup.com, and then we're also going to go into some of our samples.
So meetup.com is kind of a way, it's a dating site without the dating. So you go and you look for your interests and find people in your area that are already maybe related to those interests. And there's every category you can think of, from hiking to yoga on the beach to wine drinkers to all kinds of crafting. What you'll find in the more rural areas is that meetup may not work as well for you. It's probably going to be a little stronger in the higher population density. But Cindy and I were playing around with this a couple of weeks ago, and just in a 25-mile radius around our offices in Rhode Island were multiple crafting groups that specifically called out the fact that they did not meet because of a guild or because of a store. They were specifically beginning sewers and crafters, and if you kind of read between the lines, you got the impression they either felt nervous to be in a quilt shop, or they maybe had a difficult experience with someone much more advanced than them, and they really wanted to meet with other beginning sewers and crafters. So what a store can do in that situation is either use the meetup as making her store the location of a meetup for sewers and crafters of all different kinds. The other option would be to reach out to existing meetup groups and say, are you meeting in each other's homes, or do you need a workspace to meet? Can I be your destination? I don't need to run it. I'm not trying to do it for you, but I'm trying to offer my space as an option for you. Some of the groups that we looked at had, 10 or 15 people. Some of them had 80 or 100 people. They were doing monthly or quarterly social groups, all bonded around sewing, crafting, fabric crafts, fabric arts. So sometimes it can be thinking beyond sewing as well. And I know some of you have had a difficult experience with the mess left behind by scrapbookers or other crafters, but there are ways to kind of deal with some of those challenges. And Interspace allows looking for ways to get other crafters involved, as we want to encourage you to.
Filling an empty classroom, right? This is why you can fill your space.
I notice as a sales manager how different my shops feel that I visit if the classroom is full at the time I'm in there or not. The shop just has a different feel to it. It doesn't even mean if there's a class going on, if there's just ladies sitting and sewing. So if your space is empty, it's not creating that buzz when your new customer walks in. She doesn't get that kind of low-key. You're saying to her, if there's people in the store, you're saying to her, there's something going on here, there's something to come back for, there's a reason that everybody's here, and I'm not usually here. And you can say that you're having a full classroom, even without completely advertising the class.
Yeah, we also have some samples here. Now remember, what we're talking about is non-quilt sewing. So if I wasn't clear about that, this is non-quilt sewing, simple sewing, things that are going to be of interest to sewers, crafters, DIYers, people who may not, normally be thinking of your store as addressing their needs. So.
We also wanted though to reach out to people who are quilters. The I don't sew, I quilt line is something that one of my shops experienced. She bought a bunch of our book panels and thought, these are great, all my shoppers are grandmas, they're gonna love this. And they weren't selling, and she finally started asking people, well, you're a grandma, why aren't you buying these books? And the lady said to her, I don't sew, I quilt. I would not know how to put together a book panel. Well, there's nothing easier to put together than a book panel with all of your leftover edges of padding. So once she did a class, the children had to assemble a book panel, they were all converted. We took this skirt from Sew Serendipity because of the piecing aspect to it. So this is garment sewing that your quilt-focused ladies can do. It's got kind of an anthropology look to it, so for some of your shoppers that like that look, there'll be a lot of appeal there. And the other thing is it's highly customizable because whatever fabrics each sewist picks is going to make it really unique to her. And it's just a simple elastic waist. So Cindy's earlier comment about not having to bring in a whole bunch of new notions, you would just need one size of elastic. We also picked a cloth diaper cover. And the reason we brought this up is because the young moms that are cloth diapering spend really weird amounts of money to get specific little prints that they want to cover their cloth diapers. There are trade groups, there are resale groups after you're done using your cloth diaper covers to sell them to other people. They are all over Etsy, and it's just a simple design with the waterproof lining. This goes over the cloth part of the diaper. This one is a baby doll pattern. The notion that you would need for this would be the elastic, and then the snaps. But again, we're looking at something very minor that would be investing for the store, and really the snaps might tie over into some of the bags and things you're already doing.
This is a kit opportunity, though. Let me just say that, because you would package this, the snaps, everything you need, put it in there as a kit. So if you're thinking people aren't going to know in the store to pick up the snaps and this and that, sell it as a kit, package it adorably, put a diaper pin on anything to show what it is. Like this, you could sell a ton of these by your register. So
when you're looking in your community for people who aren't currently shopping in your store, look and see if there is a cloth diapering group or people already exchanging and selling to each other in your area that may be interested in selling. We did not do a sample of this, but also be aware that for the green and environmental movement, some ladies are making their own hygiene products. And again, it's not going to be everywhere. I was talking to one of our RSMs, and she said, all my country ladies in Boulder, Colorado would be into that. But you, again, may find some interest, and again, they're all over Etsy.
Big money being spent on these little items. So, Sarah is saying that find out where they're spending their money and on the weird things that they're buying, and that's what you can be teaching and selling in your store.
Selling. I mean, your feminine hygiene item doesn't have to have perfect seams. The honest thing to look at on Etsy is computer search. I don't even make mistakes. The umbrella lady does the guts for the umbrellas. These are some of our Desiree's designs fabrics, so I'll have these in my booth as well. I believe there are different sizes too. I've got a couple of shops that are doing these, and they're kid sizes that would be a great grandma and me or mom and me project, or the larger ones the ladies can make as well. So the umbrella lady, definitely look her up. And it's just all straight line sewing. There's serge in here as an option too, so you would just need the umbrella guts.
And they're not waterproof as they are, but there is a waterproof spray that can be used on these. So we're in 24, 20, sorry? I don't know.
Here, we just grab these from someone
this
morning. I put a real simple wristlet here because it has a zipper. And I know that when I'm doing my own garment sewing, setting in a zipper to make it fit properly along the hip is a challenge. This is a much safer way to learn a zipper. So you don't want to go into buying multiple zipper sizes for garments. Consider teaching a zipper in something, little like a wristlet or a lot more forgiving.
If you're using nylon coil zippers, buy long ones, one size, because they can be cut to any size you need. So again, you're not talking about investing in a lot of different sizes zippers. It's long ones and shop them.
Some of you are already doing the Fat Quarter Gypsy pop-up bins. These are fun for quilters to use in their sewing room or around their home. This kind of makes me think of the company 31, that a lot of people are doing sort of customized carry-alls and things like that. So there's a lot we could do here in your shop to customize these with embroidery machines and personalize them, do monograms. Certainly an easy home decor project. And again, because it's all straight line sewing, this is something that a beginning sewer can do and that a quilter's skill set would translate to. Although that said, I was sitting there sewing and going, oh, these are so great. I mean, quilter can do these. It's just a 1/4 seam, and then I sewed a 1/2 inch seam on the little one, and it's all lucky looking. But
And it's very pretty.
and the little size can also be done as the can pussy with the thermal stuff inside. So there's multiple sizes. These are fat versions.
And these are, when you make multiple sizes of these, that's a great game for kids. So if they do the ping pong ball when they have all them set up on the floor, so a lot of people are using them for those games for the kids. So.
4 pillows are a nice alternative to like from a cost standpoint and just from I don't know if I'm good enough so as to do that yet. This is a good step one kind of project. So definitely consider these. These could be assisted sewing for a child with mom or with grandma. And these would be great beginning sewing projects. The additional supplies that you need would be some trims. And this will let you use your type on your machines. The guys in back are waving, and that means we need to do our drawing.
No, it's very impressive.
Okay.
Others blown away by
Oh, he's just waving. One thing I do want to mention, we're going to do a drawing for giveaways. The last page of our notes under where it says, did you know, there's a bunch of things here you might want to look at. But one thing is grant writing. There is grant money available for all kinds of programs. As a store, check out what is available because you could be applying for a grant to teach sewing of some sort in your stores. You could be possibly getting a grant for money to supply machines in a school. Check out the opportunities in federal and state grants because money is out there just sitting waiting to be used, but you need to know the process. So go online, find out how it is. One of the stores in my area was wonderfully successful as a result of grants. Okay, we're going to get some of these.
Did everyone give a card when you received the bag? Anybody else?
Sandy, the next. Oh, hello. This is our Amazing Lakes collection.
Next one is Lisa McKissick, the Broadway Girls.
Oh, this is our brand new Leader Street that's being shown in market.
That's what we did. That's what we did this year.
This one, we're having a whole display on that. And one more on the big mega prize.
Marilyn Rummel.
Yay! That's how you